Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. We're once again in person because the internet was we didn't want to risk it for this final episode of Matt Smith's. We wanted to give him the good way out.
Jesus.
We wanted to show up for this occasion.
He died of old age, so
he
that
did.
Well,
technically, yeah. He's
good way.
was old age. Yep. This is another Doctor Who episode review. As always, we've seen these episodes before. We're just reviewing them with the lens of time,
of the Doctor,
and context.
Of the Doctor.
Yeah, everything of the Doctor this week. Yes, this is Time of the Doctor, which is the, I guess, Series 7 Christmas special, or if you're BBC iPlayer, this is listed as the first episode of Series 8.
Just wrong.
I don't think is correct. I wouldn't even class it that far.
No.
But it's fine. It's fine. This
is 2013.
The 2013 Christmas special. This is Matt Smith's last episode as the 11th Doctor. His big finale. Came out 2013, only just over a month after Day of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Was getting really spoiled in those couple of months in 2013. And yeah, it's the end of Matt Smith's Doctor. This is it. Jenna Coleman's still around as Clara, and she'll be around for another 2 seasons after this.
Yep.
And it sees just the Doctor trying to. It sees the Doctor trying to not get a planet destroyed.
Yeah,
I think that's
protecting a planet.
Protecting a planet, even though by the time he dies, the planet will get destroyed anyway. So yeah, it's fine. Fine. So, all in all, I think this is a pretty good episode. What did you think of this?
I also think it's a pretty good episode.
Good. See you later. See you next week.
Thanks for watching. See you for Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
I think it's a very fitting last one for Matt and 11 and the year as a whole, and this whole kind of arc they started with him in the 11th hour. It's a nice kind of full circle moment to it, filling in some of the gaps that needed to be filled in. Kind of celebrating his time on the show. I can't, like, a lot of his kind of iconic villains pop up in this one, obviously. And yeah, I think it does tie it in a very neat bow tie, if you will.
Oh.
They are cool. And yeah, I think there's some nice humour to it, as I think there should be when you're celebrating a Doctor. Very emotional as well, particularly the last 15 minutes for obvious reasons, as is often the case with Regeneration stories. Just depression. But yeah,
pure depression.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's really cool that the youngest actor to have portrayed the Doctor is a Doctor who then gets really old and dies of old age, which not many Doctors get to. So I like the kind of poetry to that, and Clara saving the Doctor again in ways with like this whole new regeneration cycle, kind of shaking up the law even more so than saving Gallifrey in the last one, confirming for the first time in the revived series about the limited regenerations that Time Lords have, and then obviously fixing that with a new regeneration cycle. So now anything can happen, because this regeneration cycle can be 3,000 for all we know. So that's that sorted and fixed. And yeah, I think it's a really fitting kind of finale. I really enjoyed the story behind it, and like it just throws you straight into the setup. Not wasting any time, given the fact that we thought, well, Moffat thought this was going to be Series 8, was this hour-long story basically. He had to kind of significantly reduce that because he wasn't expecting Matt Smith to leave when he did. And that being said, I think the fact that it still manages to be a pretty cohesive story and hits all the beats that it needs to and completes the story as well as it does, certainly can be commended to that respect. So yeah, I think it's a really strong kind of end to the era and the whole of the Doctor saga, if you will. Lots to love about it. A few little niggles here and there. I don't think it's perfect by any means. In terms of like regeneration stories, I still think Power of the Doctor is probably my favourite out of New Who. But yeah, I think it's a great kind of final story for Matt. I think it's, the nice kind of Christmas elements to it as well, to kind of keep it somewhat lighthearted, I guess. And yeah, I look forward to the future, obviously. So I do think it puts us in good stead with the ending with Capaldi. But what it really needs to do, I think it definitely succeeds in, as kind of celebrating 11 in his era.
Yeah, I think it's one of the. I mean, I don't think any regeneration story that we've had in New Who's been horrific.
No.
I don't think any have been bad, really. There are some I prefer, obviously, but this is fine. This is also a one episode regeneration story, which obviously wasn't the case for the two we've had previously. Because both for 9 and 10 were both sort of elongated two-parters. But since this one, we've only had single story regeneration episodes.
It's true.
So maybe we'll switch it up when Shooty regenerates.
Shooty will never regenerate. That's true. He'll never leave.
But yeah, as always, we have 3 positives and 3 negatives. I did struggle a little bit with my negatives, but it's fine. We'll come on to that. I believe it's my turn.
It is your turn. Yes.
Wow. We might line up a little bit with these. My first one is Matt Smith.
That is my first one as well. Shocking no one.
I think he's great throughout this. Again, as we've mentioned before, it's hard to come up with new positives for him because it's all the same stuff. He's just so good. He shows the whole range in this, from calm and nice to
young and old,
and to sort of elation when he's given the I really like when he's given his new regenerations and he's like proper like, oh hey,
he's like, oh shit, son.
Yeah. And then we, the scene with him and Clara as well is excellent, and he's acting very well in that, especially again with all the makeup and stuff that he's got to wear on. It could be hard, and you could be forgiven for him not acting as much because he's got the heavy makeup on. But he's great in it. He's great at the start when he, jumps on the Dalek ship and then the cyber ship, and he's like, whoopsie, and then he's got to go back and do all that. He plays the comedy very well in this. He plays the sort of the hero and the sort of aged warrior that's on his last legs very well, and obviously his big regeneration scene, which is the main sort of thing that he's remembered for in this episode, is very good and very emotional. And I couldn't think of it going any other way, because it is, it's a standout, as is every regeneration scene from any Doctor.
They're all iconic, aren't they?
But I think because this one he's regenerating with someone there, I think it's more because obviously 9 did that, but it was very brief.
Yeah, and it's for many people, it's like their first regeneration. So like, what on earth is going on? Yeah,
so this one they can take their time a little bit more, and they can have a bit more with the Doctor sort of explaining to the companion and having that conversation about him and himself.
And it's obviously very different because he only did the big explodey thing, and then it's like a very quick change.
Which I really like that.
It's good to change that up.
But yeah, I think he's just great. He's a standout for this. As Matt Smith has been for probably most of the series, if not most of his all series.
Yeah.
His whole run. He's great, and I hope he comes back to the show at some point.
So too.
It'll be really nice. Your first, Matt Smith?
Yep, Matt Smith as well, obviously. He's amazing. I think, the performances of the Doctors always hit very different, I think, when it's their last story as well. Because you just know they're giving it their all, because, it's their final bow. And yeah, he's just awesome, as I've kind of gone on about for the past year. It's finally over, guys. The war is over. I will praise Peter Capaldi instead every week. But yeah, just seeing how far his incarnation comes from Series 5 to Series 7. You watch the 11th hour and you're like, oh my god, you
turn into a little baby face.
A little baby face. Then you're like an old man who looks like William Hartnell at the end, which is obviously a very purposeful design, which was cool. And yeah, he kind of comes in. He was our age when he was cast as the Doctor and did Series 5. He's 40 years old now. But yeah, still the youngest actor to have been cast in the part at the time, and still now, because he's now 28. But yeah, what he had to do with the part and the pressure on the shoulders coming off of like the most popular Doctor ever.
Definitely.
Everything was kind of against him, certainly. And what he managed to do to kind of just create, as the youngest actor to play the oldest Doctor and the longest lived Doctor, I think, with this story, because he's on Trends like 900 years, I think, or something.
That's true.
Because it's 300 years just for him to start going a bit grey, and then he's like full on ancient at the end.
And then Capaldi comes along, he's like, billions of years,
he's like,
please.
Bitch, please. Which we'll talk about, some fun facts. But yeah, what he kind of brings to that is, just incredible. And he really did form an incarnation that has clearly stuck with me in the 10 years since he left. He's still my favourite, and it's just incredible what he managed to do with the part. And yeah, basically everything you said. I've already praised every single thing about him that I think there is to be praised since we've been covering his era.
Yeah.
And like every Doctor, they're kind of the best thing about all the stories, especially the weaker ones.
Yeah. Especially the weaker ones they're in.
Yes. And I think, he is just amazing in this last one as well. And I'm glad that he's given a lot of range in this last one, just to properly shut it off one last time. And just the way he delivers that regeneration speech, it's like, oh my god. And then the way he, how his physicality just changes entirely when he's like the older one. His little goodbye to Clara, and I guess praising him won't end because he's in deep breath.
That's true.
I'm just thinking to that as well. But
his scene with Handles as well.
Oh my god, Handles! Handles, the longest serving companion. Cyberman
yeah,
head.
that's true.
300 years of service. Yeah, like he has chemistry with a Cyberman head.
Yeah,
like,
with a
what
prop.
on earth
Yeah.
with a prop. So I think that's testament to how skillful he is, as all the Doctors are. So yeah, he's fantastic in this. Obviously, gets to show off his kind of comedic chops. Gets to just be a bit goofy and silly. Gets to be very, very serious and depressed and everything as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, for an hour-long episode, he does get kind of the whole host of emotions thrown at him, and as always, he knocked it out of the park. So fittingly, he is extraordinary in his last episode.
Yeah, that's fair enough. My second one, which may rank on your positives, I'd be surprised if it didn't. Jenna Coleman.
Yep. Well, it's one of my bonus ones.
Oh, a bonus one. Oh,
I'm going to be praising her enough. All right.
Yeah, I think she's excellent as well. She's not in it. She's in it probably just as much as Matt Smith, but she doesn't steal the show, I don't think, which is fair for the episode because it's about Matt Smith.
I would hate for anyone else to steal the show.
Well, yeah,
the last episode.
But she supports, and you watch it. And I was watching her. I think it's when they're watching the sunset, and you sort of see her looking at him. I'm like, oh,
I know.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
She's amazing.
But yeah, she's great throughout. She has to be on her top form in this episode because he's on his top form, and it can't be any part of this can't really fall down, because if it does, then it's not great for his final episode.
Yeah, and I think I think their chemistry has always been very good, in my opinion. Anyway, yes. And I love Eleven and Clara together. And I imagine it's quite a bonding experience going through like the 50th together, and for him, to be the companion when he's leaving after 3 years as well. You can see in all like behind the scenes videos and conventions and stuff now, they're like really good mates. So I imagine that also aided their performance, like knowing this is the last time they're going to be working together. So that really does come through. Even just like little bits, like when he first lands on the planet and he's there like cuddling her and rolling around in circles, they're just so sweet.
They're just not boyfriend and girlfriend.
They're not, but they kind of are. So yeah, I fully agree. She's like definitely one of my favorites.
And even like all the she brings a lot of the humor in this episode is from her side as well. Especially obviously at the start, meeting the family and
so we have just seen your note that says Slitheen, baby.
Yes, big note saying Slitheen, baby, because they get a name drop but they don't appear.
No.
Which is one of my negatives. No, it's not one of my
So zero out.
But yeah, Jenna Coleman is not a Slitheen. Or is she? Ooh.
I would happily date a Slitheen if it's Jenna Coleman.
But yeah, I think she's great in this. She is a standout.
It's her eyes, man.
Her eyes. Yeah, they do a lot of the acting for her. I think it's safe to say. And this episode doesn't have too many guest actors really. It's got a couple of background extras, but there's only really Tasha them, and maybe Clara's parents. Yeah. But she has a lot of the heavy lifting to do in this episode as well, especially sort of the reaction to his regeneration.
Yeah, and the scene with her nan.
Yeah, and that's true. So she gets a lot of the emotional weight as well. Which might not necessarily happen in all regeneration stories, especially if you think of like End of Time. There's not really too much other emotional stuff in there other than the Doctor. Yeah. Really, there's maybe a little bit of Wilf, but other than that, there's no other sort of big emotional carrier for that episode.
Yeah, it is nice having a companion there, I think, when the Doctor regenerates.
Definitely. So what's your second positive?
My second, just the regeneration scene and the whole speech. I put the last 15 minutes are perfect of the episode.
Yeah, I think from
when Tasha picks up Clara onwards, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just
the music as well when the little when the crack appears in the sky. I'm like, I was like, oh my god,
it's so good.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's
and
the
clock is on the nose as it is when it like strikes 12 and pans up to him. I'm like, oh no.
God, why? But yeah, I love the regeneration scene. Like the speech is amazing. You know, I like how meta it is in that situation. You know, it can apply to that. And Doctor Who is at its best when it's self-referential like that and kind of leans into it. We just watched Battlefield. It certainly did that. An iconic story. So I just love how, you know, beautifully written that kind of goodbye speech is.
And again, I think it's because it's as well, someone is there. He has more. He feels like he has more to say. Whereas if you think of
properly talk.
If you think of like Ten's regeneration, there's no like acknowledgement of who he's been. Because there's no one. I think if someone's there for 10 and he's able to converse with them, there's maybe more of a
it's right. The Doctor needs a companion, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's good that I think we'll see with Capaldi's regeneration as well, because there's no one there with him, and he kind of does a similar speech, but maybe doesn't hit quite as home because he's just by himself yelling in a room.
Yeah, I like the idea of him talking to the future Doctor, but it's still not like there's someone there for him to bounce off of.
Yeah, and that's the same with like 13's as well. She goes out and she's by herself, and it's very quick.
Yeah.
But she's already had that emotional sort of thing with Yaz.
Yeah, she still
and
had
that's
that.
All of those good bits of that those previous
because 10 didn't have like a regular companion with him.
No, not at that time.
Story, really.
And it would feel very odd if he just sort of picked up Martha and went, "Can you just stand here while I die?" Which would be, a bit strange.
Please stand here while I die.
I think all the regeneration is that it takes the best bits of all the regeneration, so sort of puts it in for this one.
Yeah, so it's just an amazing little speech. The breath on the mirror thing, like that's such a good bit. And, you know, his last line, I always remember when the Doctor was in. So good. And obviously Matt Smith delivers it brilliantly. Jenna Coleman's reactions to it are so good.
The wigs are great.
Yeah, the wigs, the iconic wigs. I'll talk about those a bit later on in my fun facts. So yeah, I loved everything with that. The music is just iconic. I love that they did use some of like the long song from Rings Back a 10, and how that tied into some other like Name the Doctor soundtracks, I believe it was. Amy's cameo, both as little Amelia and Amy. When that aired, and like you see baby Amy, like, oh my god, my adult Amy's going to show up, isn't she?
Oh no!
And then you see her come down the stand, like, oh my god,
that's a terrible wig, but oh my god.
You say that it's made of her own hair.
Doesn't mean it's not bad. Because Matt Smith's wig is very good, but I think Karen's is just very long, very straight.
Yeah.
And I think that's not how it ever was in the show, and it's very.
11 always thought, I wonder what Amy would be like with long straight hair. So when he's dying,
he couldn't really remember the hair, and he's like, I think it was long,
that's
straight.
True. He hadn't seen him in 900 years, so yeah.
Could have just kept it forward and be like, I forgot what hair he had. Sorry.
But yeah, all of that, and like her like Raggedy Man good night to echo that Raggedy Man goodbye, and
wonder how much she got paid to do that.
More than you and I will ever make in our lives,
true.
I imagine.
Probably, almost definitely.
Which is sad, but also
the wig was probably more expensive.
That's true. But yeah, all of that, that whole scene just slaps. And then you expect maybe in like another big crazy regeneration, but they change that up. And it's just like boom.
I remember people being so annoyed about that.
I know.
And people are probably still annoyed about that.
Oh, absolutely.
I watched it. I'm like, this is great.
He's still got his big scene. Like, he fucking blew up the Daleks with it. You want him to do it again now?
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to hit the same, is it?
Look, this TARDIS set has to stay. He's not blowing up.
Yeah. Like, he's had his big single powerful regeneration.
Yeah.
And now the cycle's been reset, so the regeneration's going to start getting bigger and bigger again.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Finally, the Watcher's going to come back.
Yes. So yeah, I love that, how quickly it transitions as well. And then just the she had time to fly this thing. It's such a great way of ending the episode. And Clara's like, what the fuck is going on?
The fuck is this guy?
What the hell is this?
Yeah.
So all of that, just the absolute roller coaster, that last kind of final scene of the TARDIS, is seeing the fish things and custard on there. Seeing that brief moment when he's back as like his young self. I'm so glad they did it like that. So I wouldn't have wanted him to be like
old and
yes. I was like, I don't want him to be generated like an old man, because you want to be the 11 we've known for like 3 years.
The tease of the little phone hanging down as well.
Yeah. Ooh,
everyone being like, oh,
what could it mean?
When are they going to pay that off? For the very next episode.
The very next episode. He filmed his cameo at the same time as this.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of that whole regeneration scene. I love regenerations that are like really kind of celebratory and like embracing that change happens and just setting up for the next one to come along, and that's definitely kind of falls into that category. And yeah, just everything about it, it's incredibly emotional. So well acted, so well written. and the music really elevates it. The way it's directed, I think, really elevates it as well. It all works. Regenerations are always incredibly cool and special when they happen. The fact that they're still finding very different ways to do them and present them and write them is, crazy impressive after, coming up to 60 years.
To be fair, they've only had to do 2 since this one.
Well, I'm talking about that, Connor.
Yeah, okay.
Because they could just copy and paste.
Yeah.
For God's sake. My God, man. I know you hate classic.
Next thing you know, some weird guy's going to show up in the field and go, "Whoa, I'm going to come for you."
Oh, dear. That'll be when Shooty goes.
Yeah, could you imagine? That would make sense, though.
Neil Patrick Harris is the Watcher. And he just merges
into David
and becomes a black man. Just becomes Shooty.
Oh, could you imagine? What a twist.
Makes sense.
Oh.
I can see it. I mean, we never know.
No.
Maybe Beat the Meep is the Watcher.
Yeah, maybe. You do know he is an all-white weird figure, so maybe.
Yeah.
I never know.
We'll see. I would be surprised, basically. But yeah, the regeneration scene is amazing. I love it so much. It's great.
Yeah, that's fair. My final positive, I've put the Trends of War instead of Trends of Law. I thought of that and I was like, that's excellent.
That's excellent. It should have been called Trends of War.
The Trends of War. Basically just the montage scenes and the little clips and glimpses we get of him fighting different monsters.
The shot of him with the silence is just like...
Yeah, the silhouette of the silence is excellent right at the end. Him fighting the Daleks. The big Dalek gun as well in the back of one of the shots is great. The wooden Cyberman I also really like. And the way he tricks it into killing itself by being like, sucker! It doesn't work on wood. I did send it, but it didn't go anywhere. Yeah. Even the brief glimpse of stopping the Weeping Angels with the mirror. Yeah. We'll say we'll ignore the Sontarans. We'll come on to them in a bit. He doesn't really stop them anyway.
That really funny scene with Sontarans. It's good.
But I just think everything we see from
15-second scene, how could that possibly hang over anyone's head for 10 years?
How could it? Huh?
Especially when the chocolate scene exists.
Hey, the chocolate scene's
No, it's not. It's terrible. And 20 times longer than this.
That's true. But yeah, I think everything we see about what was clearly this was all supposed to be the different episodes of what would have been the
imagine the Target novelisation.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm excited. They have done a Tales of Trends of Law book, which I've read half of, but then I was like, oh, it's a bit boring. Yes. But they did do one. I think it's got the Ice Warriors are in that, it's the green one.
It's the green one
from Classic Who. They turn people into green people, like plants. I forgot what the cryoids. That's it.
Yeah.
They're in
Axons, but green.
Yeah.
So repaint
costumes. There you go. But yeah, I think everything we see of that is great. I think the scale, you do get a size of the scale. It helps when you keep cutting back to him and he's like different ages. When he keeps thinking that one kid's a different kid and all that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that's really sad.
I think it just shows the scale of how long he's been there and how long he's been fighting this war. And if you want to class all the big ships above as well and you see all of them, I think it does a really good job of showing the scale of this. And you also have in your head, I know how this is going to end. We saw it in Name of the Doctor. It's going to be this desolated planet with just loads of gravestones. And you can kind of see where that's going. Yeah. You can see him defeating all of these monsters and being like, okay, I see what's happening here.
Yeah. And I like the kind of full nature of his first finale was all those spaceships in Pandora Grove.
Yeah. Now, it's a very similar thing, which is great. And I do really like it. I like the scale of this. It is very... For an episode that didn't need to be as action-packed, and they could have got away with it not being action-packed, it is nicely packed with a lot of stuff that will keep your attention, which is great. Your final positive?
I believe it is, yes. Just kind of how it ties off the era in a bow, I guess. Kind of a conclusion to an era, I guess. I don't know how exactly I word it, but like that.
The end of the arc.
The end of the arc, yeah. So the Cracked in Time showing back up.
Which I forgot about. Rewatching this, I just went, oh shit, yeah, the Cracks.
Oh yeah, the Cracked in Time.
I forgot about that.
Story arc.
It's because they're just not referenced from Series 5, so they're just in the back of my head. It's not something I thought about. It's like, oh yeah.
You kind of think it's kind of resolved. It stopped the TARDIS blowing up and then did all that, so it's fine, but it's not.
But obviously, you now see the origins of that and how
it's on the Time Lords, they're like,
let me in!
I know you closed them, but
let me in!
I want to get in! Let me out! So that's fun. And obviously, following on from the end of Day of the Doctor to kind of go back into the Gallifrey thing.
Yes. The very next episode.
Yeah, what Dorian's kind of saying about the fall of the 11th on the fields of Trenzalore. The question will be asked when he has to answer, which is about the truth field and everything coming through.
Yep.
So I like how that all ties in.
The silence.
Yeah, seeing the silence again, explaining exactly what those creatures were originally, and they come from this church, which obviously links back to the church having a huge role in that time of Angels and stuff. So,
Yep.
you know, they're kind of leaning into how that becomes such a big kind of force in the universe in the future. And, you know, meeting the papal mainframe, explaining all of that, talk about the Kovalian chapter, kind of going off, causing all the series 5 and 6 shenanigans, absolute morons.
You did this.
You did
If
it.
they never blew up the TARDIS, this is never happening.
Exactly.
That's where it all,
the Destiny trap,
it's
or whatever
great.
it said.
I love
Destiny
it.
paradox.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots.
And they didn't even have to necessarily come back and resolve that cliffhanger. They could have just left that, because you wouldn't even necessarily say they were cliffhangers, because you think, oh, TARDIS has stopped being blown up. There's no more cracks.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about doing anything else. You wouldn't have had to include all this in this if you didn't want to. So I do think it's good that Moffat's gone, right, some people probably still have some questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to come up with some answers, and then hopefully people can then just end it here and not have any hangover from.
Especially when he probably expected a whole series to kind of answer some questions. When he has an hour, he has to prioritize, like, which ones do I really need to lean in on. And, you know, the cracking
Sorry,
time.
Clara's family, you get 5 minutes.
Family. But they've done everything you can do with families. And
yeah, it's true.
But, you know, Cracking Time was such kind of a big part of, you know, the marketing and stuff in Series 5. You know, the Doctor experience was a big Cracking Time.
That's true.
So I quite like, you know, kind of cycling back to that and properly tying all that up. I mean, it really does feel like, you know, watching it, you're like, okay, yeah, this is definitely his last one. Yeah. Certainly by the point you get to the cracker, and it's like, one last bow, 11's out. You know, I do like it when you kind of get a sense like, oh, wow, yeah, this is definitely feeling like the end now. And yeah, it's just kind of the best bits, kind of, you know, referencing your own era. But, you know, I think it's always earned. You know, people shit on the farewell tour and End of Time, but I think it's earned after like 4 or 5 years of build up to all those characters.
If the Ninth Doctor did it at the end of Parting of the Ways, he went back and saw like Adam and Nancy and Jack.
Yeah.
And I don't know who else, Charles Dickens. If he went and did that, you'd be like, oh, come on now, mate.
Yeah.
You being serious?
Yeah.
But yeah, for Tenet makes sense.
They take their time for that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I really like that. And, you know, it's exploring that in a different way to doing it in the way of the End of Time did it. So obviously you're not just repeating yourselves in regards to that.
And it's different again when it gets back to Capaldi as well.
Yeah. So the whole kind of glass people idea and stuff. I just think it's neat. And, you know, for Jodie, most of those characters are just in the story anyway, so
it's true.
It's kind of fine.
All but one who didn't want to come back for the episode.
Well, he was filming in America. I think it's fine.
That's not.
And also,
could have appeared on an iPad. They had an iPad on the set. Come on, we
Who
all saw the iPad.
Well, we know who it was supposed to be. The actress was like, actually, no, I'm tending to my garden today, so, which is
good
fair
priorities.
Enough. Fair enough. Good for you. But yeah, I mean, I've always really enjoyed this arc that they have over, you know, multiple series. I think it's nice to change it up and do it that way. You know, very ahead of its time in regards to that now, because I think it's okay for a TV show to expect you to pay attention over multiple years.
I think so. Yeah. Especially but you could also say that all these arcs can be contained in their own
like
series.
The Cracking Time, and there's like River Song, The Silence, and then, you know, Amy and Rory are about to die, and then The Impossible Girl.
Amy Rory's death. Yeah. They're the Doctor.
Yeah. Impossible Girl stuff, and then finished. All of that is like, you know, Trends of Law, blah 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 blah, the Church of the Silence and everything. So it's all very good, very well and good. And I think, you know, this episode does a great job of kind of tying up all the key things it needs to.
Yep, I think that's fair enough. Full of praise this week for everything.
Well done.
My bonus positives, the crack return. I like it. I think it's great.
Return of the crack.
I like what they do with it. I like that they put the Time Lords behind there and they're like, let us out, please, please.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you ain't coming out.
Because they are so like pathetic, Time Lords.
Yeah.
So I love that they kind of just
please, can we come in, please? Let me in.
Please,
no,
please.
Because they're just like, oh, we think this is the right universe.
Yeah.
Could you?
We're gonna make it so you can't lie.
Yeah.
Say your name.
I do like it. I think it's great. Yeah. Peter Capaldi's arrival in this episode as well, I think is great. I think his whole first scene is excellent.
Yeah.
His whole first line about kidneys, great. You immediately get a sense of him, how like sarcastic and witty he's going to be in the future. And maybe it takes a little bit to get there, sort of in this first couple of episodes of the series 9. 8. Is 9? 8? I forget what the number at this point. It's all where it goes out the window.
That's all right. So does people.
Yeah. So I think, you know, I like how we're going to see that come into play and how we can see him move on, and it obviously goes directly into Deep Breath as well.
Yep.
Which will be nice and fun. And then also the Return of the Silence as well.
Yeah.
First of all, their new outfit. They look so cool in a stylish little
snazzy.
black turtleneck.
Yeah.
They look great. And the fact that they're played off as like really creepy to start with. It's like, oh no, they're fine. Don't worry about them. They're cool.
They're priests.
And then their appearance in like Translator as well, when they're fighting alongside the Doctor and the silhouette, and where they do the whole thing and they shoot up in the sky. I think it's all great and a great use of them.
Who would have guessed we'd get a shot one day of silence with a Dalek eye storm?
Yeah, there's that as well. That is cool. But yeah, I think the use of them is great. I'm glad we got to see them one more time.
Yeah.
Before it's a very long time since we've seen them again, don't we? We don't see them until Resolution of the Daleks. Revolution of the Daleks, of course. Which obviously is quite a way away from this.
Yeah. Many years.
But yeah, have you got any other positives?
My only other bonus one other than Jenna Coleman was handles.
Yes.
I just love that silly little Cyberman head.
Handles
I'm a Cyberman lover anyway, but just having one with like a personality.
Lack of a personality as well.
I guess, but you see him kind of like
see the sass.
He comes to understand what comfort is. He's like, I do.
Yeah.
And just it pleased me to know, and just knowing that's Nandor from What We Do in the Shadows, it just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great vocal performance from him. And again, we've already talked about Matt Smith has chemistry with the prop.
Mm-hmm.
And the
telephone scene at the start as well, where it's like, just remind me to patch it through.
And just how early in the story, like I've developed the fault. Like the neck just comes back as like, oh. It reminded you like 300 years later, just so wholesome. And the way like the head's like cracked a bit, so it looks like he's smiling.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a nice little detail. He's a nice Cyberman head.
Yes.
And the Doctor mentions he gets him from the Moldovar market, so a nice Dorian reference there. So that's all very well and good. And I love our longest serving companion. I just think he's neat. So yeah, it's a great kind of twist of having like Cybermen presence in the story beyond just like the opening bit. But obviously a very different way of doing it, which I really enjoyed, and handles is best boy.
Yep, that's fair. We must now talk of the negatives of this episode.
We have no choice.
There's a few. I've only managed to put together 3, so I don't really have any additionals.
Okay.
The first one, which we've spoken about before, is they don't need to be naked. Matt Smith doesn't need to be naked at the start, and the whole holographic
I guess like, if you want to take the piss out of church, fine, but I don't know if this is the story to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly in there so that they can have the whole wig joke. That's the thing, isn't it? It's so that he has the fake key and they do the wig joke. That's why they're nude, because if they obviously, we can see through the hologram. We know you've got the key. Give me it. And then they wouldn't check the hex. It's not hologram, etc. But there are other ways you can do it. It just feels very crude. I think for me it just cheapens it a little bit, because it's just.
I think it being right at the start of the episode as well doesn't help it.
Yeah, it's the introduction to this.
You haven't really felt what vibe the story's going for yet. And it's just like,
especially because
that's a weird place.
Yeah, because you've got the cold open where it's like, oh my god, action, what's going on? Dalek, Simon, and it's like, I'm naked now. It's like,
yeah.
But why? You don't need to have it, and you can still have the awkward interaction with Clara's family and he not be naked
because he's just weird.
Yeah,
he's a weird boy.
I mean,
I do like the twisted.
Yeah, I like elements of it, but I'm just like, it just makes me uncomfortable to have it.
Yeah.
And there's no need for it because it never plays on again. It's not like whenever we go to a different place, like in theory, when they go to the church place, all of them should be naked.
Yeah.
Because then why are they all wearing if you have to be naked, why are they wearing holograph projectors?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And it's just not needed. It's just a bit. It goes back to sort of Series 5-esque. It's too horny bits, and it's like, you don't need this. You just don't. Just keep it as a not highbrow, but it doesn't need to be this. It's fart joke-esque, I think.
Yeah.
In how it's used, and it's just really helpful.
This is like Pavement Stab levels of unneeded horniness in an episode.
Yeah, they even have a bit of a love life. It's just not necessary. I just don't think you need it. It's fine. You can keep the wig joke in there and just say, we've scanned you. We know you have a key on you. Give us the key.
Yeah.
And be like, there you go. And then just have it. Yeah. And just be like, whatever. But
yeah.
I guess they just wanted to cover themselves with a wig in case somebody went, he's wearing a wig. They can be like, yeah, he is wearing a wig. You're right. We
Correct.
are. But
we are aware.
Never mind. What's your first negative?
Tasha then.
Okay.
I don't like her.
Interesting.
I mean, the character is fine. I kind of do. It kind of leans into yours a bit, just the way the church is kind of presented at the start. I think the character's fine, but it's nothing new.
Feels like a River substitute.
It really is like this could be several characters we've met over the past couple of years of the show. There's nothing really distinct about her. Obviously, there's a clear romantic past with the Doctor,
We don't know
that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
But heavily implied by basically the whole deal together.
The bed being like, oh, it's an altar.
When hasn't the Doctor just banged all these women at this point? So yeah, it's fine. And I think Orla Brady gives a good performance. I do like her in it. Her accent is to die for. I love her accent. It's very hot. But just the character itself, it just leaves a lot to be desired, I think. Especially when this is like the face of like what they've been building towards for like 3 years. Like this is the person who creates "silence will fall" as a phrase.
Yeah, it should have. It could have been what's her face from series 6.
Kavarian.
It might have made more sense if it was her.
It would have been a great spot to kind of include her, I guess. So yeah, I think it's just kind of a shame that's like, oh, you're not really a unique enough character, I think, for this position. Maybe if this was the first time we'd had an interaction like this with this character.
And I mean, again, maybe if this was a whole series, you've got more of a time.
Exactly, yeah. I'm sure they would have really dealt with that. And I actually think she works really well when it's just her and Clara. I like those two bouncing off each other. I love the detail that she can fly this house and goes back to get Clara.
And then she just leaves.
Yeah, just so the Doctor doesn't die alone. I think that's really nice. Because she has this front, like, work comes first, but she clearly does really care for the Doctor as well, deep down.
Which again would make sense if she was like River.
Yeah, and I think I'd have been fine with the character if she'd stayed dead when they got to that reveal. I died in this room. Like that's a great reveal. Like holy fuck. But then it's just like I know like it slowly converts you. Like in some of the Daleks, it's like a slow process with Amy and everything. But like she had an eye stalk coming out of her, and like I feel like it's too far gone. And just everything with that, and like. It feels a bit weird, and the fact she just has a bloody hole in her head for the rest of the story, I'm like, I can't take you seriously now. So I just think it's just a bit of a kind of character, especially one that's has a lot of the screen time in this story as well. I get why she has to, but I just wish the character was maybe a bit different in how she was kind of put together, I suppose. I think there could have been a really interesting kind of one-off character in there. But unfortunately, I think she's just kind of the sum of parts we've seen in so many other characters, unfortunately. Yeah,
I think that's fair. And it kind of ties into my second negative as well, is that reveal of her being a Dalek, I think would have been much better if we hadn't already seen all the people outside.
Yeah, they could have done that afterwards.
Yeah, I was like, because you know then what's coming. It's like, just don't have that. Just be like, oh my God, I was killed. And be like, what? And then she's like, and whatever, and then have everyone come in and be like, oh.
Yeah.
I think that kind of ruins it slightly. And at the same time, how can she just then be fine? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like, love beating the Cybermen again.
Yeah, it's a similar thing, isn't it? It's like your stubbornness is keeping whatever, and yeah, it's a bit. I don't know if it's just lazy or if they just wanted that to happen across a whole season, so you'd have more of a
quite possibly
thing, so they have to condense it down into an hour. Like you would have had that whole time to build up to her.
So the fact that she is this lead of this whole system that kind of like governs like how the whole universe works in terms of
she's had the Daleks in check for so long, and then she just gets
I can kind of believe she would have the mind. It's like that woman in the Next Doctor. I don't believe she has a mind that special that blows up all the Cybermen. This I can kind of see her getting to that point, but there's just not enough time and not enough character to really get her. Just I think her turning into a Dalek is great. Yeah, I think the Daleks invading that, and obviously it gives us a Dalek silence as well. But I think they kind of shot them. They kind of shot themselves in the foot with the reveal of the silence and everything being Daleks before, because it's clearly you can see it's building up to that, being like, oh yeah, something happened, blah blah blah. It's like and then it's like, oh well, I can't. Maybe it's because we already know that's coming, so maybe I'm looking at it more critically. That's true. Maybe because I already know it's going to happen. I'm like, oh. But that is how we are viewing these episodes. Well, yeah, I did explain that at the start. Yes. But yeah, I mean, even I would hope even like a media savvy person watching it now would see that and be like, oh, well, she's clearly going to be that, isn't she? If that's happened all the way outside, she's obviously going to be whatever. Yeah. Because the line, "Oh, I was killed in this room," is great, and it's so good. If that's the first reveal of like, oh my God, the Daleks have been here and killed everyone, that's great. It would be like when they reveal Miss Kislet's now just like reverted and she was just taken as a kid, and then they like scan her and she's fine. It's like, oh. Okay, it feels like that. Or if completely cheap. Or if they'd already said outside that room that all these people were taken as children, and then it goes in and she's like, oh, I think it's unnecessary. Mm-hmm. So your second negative? My second, the Daleks just get their memory back. I felt that's such a wasted opportunity because they just don't explore that. Because the last time we see them is Asylum of the Daleks. Where what do they say about it? How do they?
There's a line, isn't there?
They harvest it from Tasha's memories when they kill her.
Yeah,
so I'm like, oh, that was a really interesting way of shifting the Dalek dynamic, and you do absolutely nothing with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but then if you put them back in, it's like, oh, the Daleks are in it too much.
Right, exactly that.
Yeah.
I know they can't win.
Yeah,
Again, I needed Tasha. That's my only problem. The story is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. But I do think it's a bit of a shame, like, especially because like the Daleks are back again, but if they do something like they don't know the Doctor after all these years,
could have just not had the Daleks. I know you want to have the Daleks in this, but you could have just not had them be the main ones that are like. Yeah. You could have had the Sidemen or someone else be.
Do it. Yeah.
Even the silence could have turned on him at the end of this, and that's then how it was. You
could have had the Slitheen.
Could have had the Slitheen. Could have.
Can you imagine
Shadoon there as well.
I was skinned in this room, screaming your name.
Oh my god! God, what a twist!
It just takes ages.
Could you imagine what a twist that would be?
The episode's an hour and a half. It's half an hour. Just everyone unzipping the nibble Slitheen.
Keeps cutting to even Barnacle down at the things.
I'm a child of the Slitheen.
Oh, I can only dream.
Barnacle Slitheen. That'd be incredible. But anyway, I think it's kind of a wasted opportunity to do something really interesting. Like that's the most the Doctor Dalek dynamic's been changed in years, and then it just immediately, and again from Tasha of all people, at least be someone significant, you know. Yeah. So it's a shame.
Fair enough.
Again, I'm nitpicking for my next two, but that's it.
Yeah,
I have to.
I mean, mine and the final one's a bit of a nitpick, and if you've been paying attention for a while, you'll know what mine is. The Sontarans are just a little bit stupid in this. It's always bothered me.
Has it?
Yeah, I know. Right? I can look past it because Strax is like a one-off, and he's not even that stupid in a military sense.
Yeah, he has no common sense.
Yeah,
he's stupid in that regard.
He's still got a military brain.
He has
still knows
tactics.
Yeah. Whereas these Sontarans, I just don't get. It just doesn't make sense why they're like, but we're still invisible, and then they're like, oh my god, I can see. It just
probably just had some chocolate beforehand.
Yeah, maybe. No, but then they would have been better because then it would have been that's what revitalized them.
No, craving it.
But I just think they're just it's played for a laugh, which I think you can do in some ways, but like for the Weeping Angel with just looking in the mirror, that's fine, and the wooden side man killing itself with that, it's tricked in a good way.
Yeah.
Whereas this one very much feels like,
that's dumb.
Yeah, you should have seen that coming.
Yeah, the Doctor didn't need to do anything to them.
Yeah, he literally just turned off the two Sontarans' cloak, and then they were dead. Yeah. And it's like you have this whole military tactic fleet thing, and that's the best you could come. You don't even try again. That was the best you could do was invisible tank.
They're tired.
Yeah,
they've been cloning it for 300 years.
True. They didn't want to do it anymore. So I also think that this is a good thing. It's good that the Sontarans now get a little bit of a rest. Obviously, we get Strax in the next episode, but I think they now get a bit of a rest until obviously Flux, isn't it?
Basically Flux, I think. Yeah.
So I'm glad they do that, and I'm glad they then take the time to sort of reinvent the Sontarans and make them more of a militaristic.
Yeah,
threat.
I mean they're the final villain of Flux, really. Isn't they?
Yeah, and I mean, and even in that, sure, there are some dumb moments with them, and certain ones are done, but they still have that military. They still have that military tactic and that military brain, and they're not caught out because of their military naivety, really. I think it's a very small nitpick, but it's one that's always stood out for me. And I'm like, especially because I like the Sontarans. I think that they're really well used in Series 4. We've not really had the Sontarans as a threat since Series 4.
Mm-hmm.
We've had Strax, obviously, and that's played fine. But then when they're like finally in a war zone, they're just then played for a laugh. I'm like, but we've seen them be. There's no reason why they should be this. We've seen them be this military thing.
Off screen, they're amazing in that fight.
Well, yeah, exactly. Probably.
It's just those two fucks.
So it's a shame, but it's fine.
It's 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's literally
life.
It's ruined my whole life. But yeah, it's 15 seconds, so I can kind of be like, yeah, fine, whatever. It doesn't ruin the episode. It's just something that I would have preferred. Put a different.
It just mostly ruins it.
Yeah, just put a different monster in there. Put the Slitheen in there. That's more of a realistic. Well, yeah, exactly. That's more of a realistic Slitheen thing.
Imagine they just reuse that scene when they get blown
yeah,
up.
just cut them out and put them in like a forest background. But that would have been even just just put a villain in there where it makes more sense for that to be the ending, whether that's a Slitheen or just another stupid alien that we've had.
Just like a blowfish or something.
Yeah, just something easy, a Sycorax maybe. Just something that's even the Jadoon, someone that's not that smart. Would have been better than that. But yeah, wow. Except for the Sontarans I don't think fit there. But anyway, what's your final negative?
I think there's too much and too little revealed at the same time in regards to some things. We don't need the reveal that the crack in time was in the room in the God Complex. You should never reveal that was. And it
I don't think you need
doesn't
to,
make sense anyway, because it's like, so that's who when he opens the door. It should have been John Hurt, if anything, but just don't reveal it. So it being a crack in time, I don't think made any sense. It would just feel like, oh, we have to answer that, but you didn't. And then just like, how did they blow up the TARDIS? I know we know who and like how that played out, but like, how did they manage that? I know, because like if they can put a shield around an entire planet, they more than capable have the technology of sneaking into the TARDIS and going boom. So I get it, but maybe just explain.
You could maybe say that River had done it at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
So, you know, again, it's fine because I like what they do reveal. But yeah, I think some things like you don't need that in there. Yeah. Some answers you just don't need to get, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do not blame you. I've not really got any other negatives on my part.
I have one.
Yeah,
which is just awful ADR.
Okay, yeah.
When he's like, no, this planet is protected. Because it cuts to him and it says no, and his mouth's like he's not saying no. Yeah. And then he like turns around like sonics the bell. And he's like, this planet is protected. I'm like, he's not saying that there. It was just the only one that stood out to me. I was like,
yeah, and there's also when they're coming out the TARDIS after they get saved by the snow. And they're like, oh, it's good to be in clothes again. But you never see their mouths move. I'm like,
don't you think? And then he just does not respond.
Yeah. It's like, you're clearly not saying that. But
yeah,
it's fine. I don't think I've got anything else except to say the stepmom is a bitch. Clara's stepmom. She's a terrible person. And even the dad's like, oh, the one with the pigeon. Like, shut the fuck up. She's clearly talking about something else.
Yeah, the grandmother's the only good character.
Yeah.
And you want them to show more of them?
Yeah, I mean, the dad would have been nice to see more of, but the stepmom's terrible.
I like that it's a completely new actor as well as the dad.
Yeah.
But, you know, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you want to know who the horrible stepmom has played before in Doctor Who, stay tuned.
Ooh.
Well, I should say where you've heard her in Doctor Who before.
Oh boy, I'm very excited. The other thing is, and maybe if they ever do a Target novel, they might include it. But I'd love to see like a Gallifrey point of view for this whole thing.
Yeah, they just have their popcorn now.
Well, that's it. You know,
hurry up!
Obviously they've got to do that, but maybe you could dedicate a chapter to it, saying, you know, when Clara's like, you know who he is, be like on Gallifrey, they're blah blah, and then have two people be like, look, just send a Regeneration.
They'll be having strategy meetings like, what can we do next to try and force his hand?
Yeah, and I think there's something you could do there around that side of things. Cool. I don't think Big Finish have done that yet. They might have done, but I don't think they have.
They might have done it 3 times.
But you know, that's something that they could do, especially now that we have the context of the Timeless Children as well.
Yeah,
it could be like just pretend to send him to Regenerations.
Yeah,
you know, just pretend to send him to
be a front.
Yeah, you know.
Because like Clara only gives that one little speech, and it's like, well, that's enough for us. But they might just be like, well, we can just use that as an excuse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've sort of stuck ourselves in the corner here. We're not getting out.
Yeah, it's just CGI.
Just send him his confession down, and we'll be back in a few years. It's fine.
We need to know about the hybrid. Give him a new set.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah,
this whole episode's pretty good for me, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Fun facts before we rank the episode.
Facts. Okay, not as many as the previous episode. Thank God.
So disappointed.
My poor Jewel. But anyway, this is the 800th episode of Doctor Who.
Wow.
And we will review them all.
So many classic Who. God
so many. Good God. Because Crimson Horror is like the 100th, so there's a lot of classic Who.
Is it 100th story? Is Crimson Horror?
I think it's the 100th episode.
That can't be 800. That can't be right though. If you just said 800 for name, Crimson Horror was only 5 episodes ago.
Maybe it's story.
It must be
it's the 100th episode of like New Who.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm with it now.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
There you go. Because you need to include Classic Who in Doctor Who.
Of course, yeah, that's right. So that means there's 700 episodes in Classic Who.
Basically.
Not even that. 700 and...
A lot, basically.
Yeah.
And this isn't including like minisodes and one-off specials and shit like that. So there's a lot of Doctor Who out there. Well,
so much Doctor Who and books.
About 200 episodes I've probably deleted. So
yeah.
Not entirely. This is the first time the revived series addressed the limited amount of regenerations each Time Lord is said to have, first established in the 4th Doctor story The Deadly Assassin, which featured the decaying master at the end of his final body. This episode also confirmed the 10th Doctor's regeneration in Journey's End did count as a full regeneration, a prospect often debated by fans. Of the confirmation, Moffat said, it's not about counting the regenerations, it's about counting the faces of the Time Lord who calls himself the Doctor. That's out the window now with 14, but, different strokes for different showrunners.
Yeah, you're not wrong, yeah.
This is the first televised regeneration story to end on a shot of a character other than the Doctor, and the second one since the War Games to not end on the Doctor's new incarnation.
Huh.
So there you go. A beautiful shot of Clara being like, what the fuck?
What have I got myself
What
into?
on earth?
Who's this old man?
Oh no, he's old.
Oh my god, he's hot.
Oh my god, he's hot. Oh my god, there's eyebrows. At the time, this story took place over a longer period of time than any other, with the Doctor living through 900 years by the end of the episode. This record is later broken by Heaven Sent, which take place over 4.5 billion years.
God, terrible.
Beats it just a little bit.
Only slightly.
This is the first time the final transition of a regeneration in the revived series is a brief flash of golden light rather than the prolonged explosion of energy seen in prior regenerations and earlier in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Several pieces of music from the previous regeneration story, The End of Time, are used. When the Siege of Trenzalore begins, Final Days is played. And as Clara approaches the building where an elderly 11 awaits, 4 knocks can be heard.
Ooh.
Oh dear. In their final on-screen appearance together, Matt Smith and Karen Gillan are both wearing wigs, having both shaved their heads. Gillan's is made of her own hair, having shaved the role for Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. As we all know, I think she did quite well out of that part. So
yep.
fair
Matt
enough.
Smith, however.
Smith shaved his hair for a role in Ryan Gosling's directorial debut, Lost River. It didn't quite grow back enough when filming began for the story in September 2013. It was decided he would wear a false hairpiece, which would make it easier for makeup artists to show Eleven was aging throughout the story by making older-looking hairpieces. To make fun of this, the scene revealing the Doctor had shaven his head to sneak into Trenzalore was written into the script, and Smith wearing a bald cap in that scene.
It's fun.
It is.
Your ears are like rocket fins.
Yeah.
It's good.
Is that what happened to your eyebrows? No, they're just dead.
Yeah.
I love that. During filming, Smith suffered a serious injury to his leg and later had to visit a physical therapist to recover from the accident. To ease Smith's pain and account for his limited mobility, it was written in the Doctor started to use a cane as he got older. The injury inspired rumours within the fandom, of course it did, that the 11th Doctor would lose his leg to a weeping angel attack in the episode. While this didn't happen on screen, several short stories in the compendium Tales of Trenzalore did in fact claim the Doctor lost a leg and had a wooden one by the end of his life.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that is in one that I was reading.
Show it, you cowards. I want to see that leg torn right off. This is the 4th television story to feature both the Daleks and Cybermen in major roles, the others being the 5 Doctors, Army of Ghost Doomsday, and the Pandorica opens in the Big Bang.
Of course.
This is the second time the Daleks have appeared in 2 consecutive stories, the first time being Frontier in Space and Planet of the Daleks in 1973. Their appearance in Frontier was a cameo at the end to set up the next story.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second of 2 times the Master is mentioned in the 11th Doctor's era, the first being in a town called Mercy. This was a reference to the 5 Doctors, where the Doctor did indeed steal that seal from the Master in the Death Zone. The music that plays during the regeneration combines Trenzalore from the name of the Doctor, the long song from Rings of Akaten, and I Am Information from the name of the Doctor. An unknown actress had to play a young Amelia Pond in Eleven's hallucinations, as Caitlin Blackwood was now a teenager and obviously much older. They should have just committed to it.
Yeah.
And that is so obviously weird.
Yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it.
Sheila Reid, who plays Clara's grandmother, previously appeared on the show in 6th Doctor story Vengeance on Varos. Elizabeth Ryder, who plays Dave Oswald.
Ryder?
Yes.
I barely know her.
Yes, that is the joke. Who plays Dave Oswald's partner Linda, was the voice of Atmos in the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky.
Oh, there you go.
What an evil, evil woman.
Both episodes feature the Sontarans.
They do.
There you go.
They do indeed.
Coincidence?
She can't get away from them. This is the first Christmas special to feature the same main cast as the previous one. This is the last story to use the title sequence that debuted in The Snowmen. As she enters the TARDIS after the end of the siege, Clara finds the external TARDIS telephone off its hook. The reason for this is explained in the following episode, Deep Breath. Matt Smith recorded his side of the cameo while filming this story, though Jenna Coleman didn't film her half for another 5 months.
Lazy. Why not record them at the same time?
Why not just get to that set in Deep Breath that you haven't acquired yet? The story probably wasn't finished.
It was in the middle of it. It wasn't. It was just a street in Cardiff.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's just close that street in Cardiff at the same time.
Just get a small camera and just have Jenna Coleman on the phone. You do anything else.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Easy.
Let's just make that clear to people that there's going to be a clip when they don't, and it's not in the final episode. Oh, okay, that's going to be somewhere else then. Peter Capaldi improvised his first lines as the 12th Doctor.
Good for him.
Good for her. Good news! This is the second regeneration story to include the word time in the title, a pattern that continued with the 12th Doctor's regeneration story, Twice Upon a Time. Then Power of the Doctor ruined it.
Terrible.
But
God's sake of the Doctor.
Or the end of.
Well, of the Doctor as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Just everything. This is the last TV story to use rolling credits until The Woman Who Fell to Earth in 2018. And finally, Jamie Payne returned to direct the story as a gift to Matt Smith, who'd found Payne to be the director he enjoyed working with the most. Payne had previously directed Hyde.
Imagine being any of the other directors now. Fuck you then.
I mean, everyone has their favourite director.
Screw you, Matt. I thought we got on quite well.
Maybe they did, but not as well as this.
No, clearly. Very good. Excellent fun facts. Also, the building that Clara lives in is the same one is used for Rose's flat. In Rose.
Who gives a fuck about Rose?
No, it's always something I've noticed because when she's coming down the stairs,
when you go down the stairs, I'm like,
it's the same stairs. Yeah. So, Doctor Who reusing sets. Who could have guessed?
Yeah. But again, and can you believe they reused Clara's flat as Clara's flat next season?
Unacceptable.
My God.
But yeah, I imagine that led to a number of fan theories about, oh my God, Rose is going to be back.
Oh my God, Clara and Rose are the same person.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Even though she's actually in a parallel world.
You never know.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's in the 60th.
Yeah, that's true. Out of 10, what are you giving Time of the Doctor?
Time of the Doctor is getting a 9 from me.
Same, also a 9. I've given all 4 of the Doctors a 9.
9?
So
9?
That's what, 90... Is it 98? 97 out of 100?
Let's say yes.
96 maybe?
Let's say yes.
I don't know, it's fine. Next then, Peter Capaldi's very first episode. It's an extra long one as well.
I'm so excited to get back to 45-minute episodes. Like, please.
Deep Breath.
Deep Breath.
What do you remember of Deep Breath? What do you remember of Peter Capaldi's debut?
I remember really liking it once they get to the cafe onwards. I'm like, okay, yes, this is really good now. I think it is a bit slow in that first 20 minutes or so, mainly because they had to force in his bloody Blue Peter gadgets again. Ruining another Doctor Who story. So yes, we'll see how that ages this time around. But yeah, I always remember really liking this one overall. I think it's a very solid start. Definitely doesn't need to be 75 minutes for sure.
No, I think they spend a lot of time like with Clara being like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, oh, just shut up. You know about regenerations. You've seen all of them before.
Yeah.
Why you shouldn't
have.
Yes,
I get that. But just because she knows he can change things doesn't mean she has to like every personality.
I know, and I admit that, but I don't think she needs to be as aggressively against it as she is, or as shocked, I think, as she is.
Or as aggressive as you remember her.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, maybe I'll change. Maybe it'll be different.
The family just doesn't like Clara.
Yeah, but at least we've got Strax hitting her with a.
Yeah, it'd be good to see. Oh my God, it's the newspaper, isn't it? Oh my God, the best moment in Doctor Who.
Best scene.
And I say that as a Clara fan.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that.
But we've also got the Doctor jumping out of a window and landing on a horse with loads of comical sound effects as well.
Oh, do we?
Yep,
lovely.
So that'd be fun.
Elizabeth Sladen's husband's in it.
That's
the homeless guy. He's gets the coat from.
No,
not the other homeless.
The other homeless one.
God, Victorian London was horrible, wasn't it? But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the Paternoster gang again. The Clockwork Man.
Yes.
They were really proud of that prop because my God, did they show that off?
Yeah.
And to be fair, it looks great. And just did he push him? Did he not? He definitely did. Savage man.
Missy, the introduction of Missy as well, right at the end. Yeah,
yes, and obviously Matt Smith's cameo as well.
Yes,
which will
of
make
course.
me cry. So yeah, I'm very intrigued and very excited to get into Capaldi's era and see what on earth's going on. I mean, there's obviously the holdover with the Paternoster gang. It is the Clockwork Droids and the sister ship of the SS Pantaleon from Girl in the Fireplace. So some elements are the same, but that's kind of how you handle, I guess, a first story for a new Doctor. You want something
unless you're Christian,
unless you're Christian,
nothing.
Which is fair. Which is also like a.
And then you take a massive backtrack.
Yeah. Well,
you can't win.
You've got to listen to your audience.
Yeah. Although not all the time.
For the most part, he did.
Yeah.
When it needed to.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Anyway, that's the whole of the Doctor away first.
It is, yes.
3 seasons to go before that.
Yeah, we still. Jodie's the next Doctor for us now. My God. But yeah, I'm excited to revisit this one. I haven't watched it in a while. I haven't watched Series 8 in a while. No. But I am very excited to kind of get to these stories. Mummy on the Orient Express is one of my favourites, so I can't wait to get to that. Flatline's amazing as well. Unfortunately, In the Forest of the Night is coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I really like both series finales for all 3 series finales. I think I quite like coming up.
Yeah, especially like Cybermen.
Wow, yeah.
I mean, they're only Cameo and Hellbent. So
I like this Series 9 finale, Series 8 finale, and Series 10 finale. They're all really good.
Yeah. So I am excited to revisit the whole. The Promised Land story.
Robots of Sherwood.
I am a Robin Hood fan, so I'm excited to get to that one.
I am a Ben Miller fan, so I'm excited to see him get not decapitated.
Oh God, that was such an unfortunate time.
That'll come up in your fun facts as well.
That will be my fun. It's not going to be a fun fact to tell you about Robot and Sherwood. Yeah, God. I always wanted a Robin Hood episode, and then it's that. Never mind. But Listen is another iconic one. That's Peter Capaldi's favourite story, I think he did, at least in his first series. So
Into the Dalek,
lots of good ones. Into the Dalek's great. I really like Time Heist.
Yeah,
I think that's fun. Bridget and Guy is in that. He's playing Fiyero in the Wicked films.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to revisit and enjoy. I'm excited. There's also The Caretaker, which I'm not too fond of, and Kill the Moon.
Child. Danny Pink killing a child.
Danny Pink. Oh, I like Danny.
I like Daddy Pig, but
the child doesn't.
But the reveal of the child, like in the delete memories, boom, when the kid's behind him in the finale.
It should just ends on the side.
It's terrible. It's
anyway,
terrible.
We'll get there eventually. But yeah, I am excited to get into Capaldi and Series A and Deep Breath as a whole. I think it's a pretty solid first story.
And not set in present day as well.
Yeah, which is nice.
Which is a change for new series episodes.
Yeah, I have a feeling in my gut it's going to really pleasantly surprise me. Because it has been a long time. So I'm hoping my gut feeling is correct. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
If not, Into the Dark's good.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, that'll be it. We should be back next week with another one. Obviously, if any Doctor Who news crops up, we'll probably try and find time to cover that as well. Which, again, Doctor Who fans are clowning. Maybe there's going to be a trailer soon.
It's nearly the end of the month.
Yeah, maybe there'll be new TARDIS.
Straight to Come Dancing starts.
In a couple of weeks. So there could be something. But we will see. But until then, bye.
Bye.